I'm Chad Rutherland.
I'm Andy Kinnick.
I'm JJ Artemis.
And welcome to No Clip Pocket. No one gets to choose who they are in this podcast. I don't know why I brought the tagline thing in for the Deltarune episodes, but I'm going to have to keep it going forever.
Choice, yeah.
And today, we're going to be talking about Deltarune, as should be very obvious based on all of the shitty branding I put on these. Deltarune is this is Deltarune episode 1, which is the first in a presumably multiple game string of follow-ups to Undertale. It is not a sequel according to Toby Fox, but is like
It's in the same universe.
pretty much according to him. No, it isn't. But that seems weird.
Okay. Undertale lends itself to a multiverse thing, so.
Yeah, I would agree.
All things are suspect. Nothing is certain. He is a liar.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is the first episode, and this one was released for free on October 31st of 2018. It kind of dropped without any warning at all. And
It's like a one-day Twitter post.
yeah, even the game masquerades itself as not the game from the beginning. But hey, it was the game.
I would not have put it past Toby Fox to have just created a really high fidelity survey. So it even once it becomes a video game, even then, like the entrapment continues around you. Like you aren't certain that you are getting what you're about to get, and really you're never certain as long as it continues to go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the the viral nature of the release was a really good call to kind of try to recapture some of like the buzz around the original game. But you do it in like a different kind of way.
Yeah. Despite like all of the differences and how much of the stuff that if you listen to our episode 0 of this series, we kind of talked about how much we liked like the meta commentary stuff and the shit that happens like outside of the game, in the game, out the game.
Yes. In and out game.
In and out burger.
The game.
Sneak King.
The prequel to Undertale.
Despite the lack of all of that, it's still like the way that it was released sort of made up for a little bit of it, where it was like, this is just weird enough, and the beginning is really strange, and they even keep the beginning when you're on the Switch version, and the name of the game is not Survey Program according to Windows. So yeah, it's pretty insane the way that he did this, and what you said about being uncertain all the way through, as long as you know that it's not over yet. This game raised so many more questions than it answers, and the fact that the game has an ending, like you fight a boss, and you go back to town, and then you go, how is he gonna, like, what's part 2? Like, are you gonna be in the town? Or are you gonna be in the world?
I think it'll pick up kind of the way the first one does, where you go back to school and probably go back
End up back in the closet?
Back down the rabbit hole, yeah. But who knows with fucking Toby Fox, so.
Yeah, this whole release seems specifically designed to try and poke and prod unprovable theories out of people. Mm-hmm. Because even a lot of the stuff that the game sets up as if it's going to be the start of a further narrative is either so vague that we can't possibly even accurately speculate on how it's going to be picked up later. Example, the Gaster mine, whatever that horrifying thing is to the south of the final town. Or it already has itself sort of tied into this neat little narrative progression ball and has an in-universe explanation about why it doesn't have to come back. Like, the Dark World, when you wake up at the end of the entirety of it, gets completely recontextualized as just you were in a room with the lights off and hallucinating or something.
It has a very, like, overt Alice in Wonderland inspiration, where it's supposed to be like blurred, like was it a dream? Probably not, but you'll find out later, or that kind of a thing.
But it allows the possibility for them not to go back with that same kind of setting or aesthetic at all. They could still have continuity of character, because a lot of these characters are people going into this fictional.
But have it look totally different?
Yeah, like you could go into the gymnasium and go into like Basketball Town. And it's all like
Space Jam.
About like sweet hoops,
Yeah.
Like that's absolutely on the table here.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I also want to push an agenda that I think Toby Fox was in fact inspired by PS1 classic car-based platformer Rascal, which also had you going into worlds that were unambiguously designed around objects found in your character's room. I feel like we might be in a Rascal situation here, where maybe there's like a Time Lord of some kind that's controlling
Kronos.
Yeah, that is set you into the battle world.
Real quick sidebar.
Yes.
You brought up the Gaster mine. That you're talking about, like the area like south of the town at the end.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm going too many steps deep.
No, that's fine. I thought that was the entrance to the underground, like the hole that your character falls down at the beginning of Undertale.
Fuck it, it might be. That's the whole point of so many things that get brought back up into this space, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe they just slapped a nice little metallic cover onto the edge of what was once a pit that you fell down, or maybe it's a mine full of science horror. Like
maybe it's both.
Maybe it's just a regular mine. There just happens to be science horror nearby.
just makes terrible sounds.
But anyway.
Yeah. Though, honestly, like, because that was honestly the first thing that I thought about when I finished the game is just like where do you go from here? Like, what's from just from a design perspective, like, you have all of this setup, and it left me in this like complete state of confusion because I liked so many of the changes they made in this game from Undertale, and wanted to see some of them expanded on more than they were. And I was like, oh, that's what the episodes are for. But then near the end of the game, most of the things that I wanted to see expanded on were like dropped completely. And then the fact that you go back to the town gives me hope that maybe there's like a whole other set of things that you'll learn over time.
Yeah, I had to imagine it'll be like we've made many a time a comparison to like Saturday morning cartoons. Like it feels like it's setting it up to be episodic in that kind of way, like JJ brought up, where you go back to the fantasy world with the same characters and you do different shit.
So it's like Chalk Zone.
Oh, yes. Oh my god. It is exactly Chalk Zone.
Except you literally go get chalk from the...
Yeah.
There it is.
You cracked the code.
I hate you. Oh my god.
Somebody call Rudy.
Rudy's got the chalk. But anyway,
I believe you were going...
I don't remember. My brain is full of chalk now.
Yeah, I think you were going
fault.
to prompt me to elaborate on what it was that I wanted to expand upon.
You know me better than I know myself.
You gave the look that you gave was as if to say, please expand what you're talking about. There's a big one that I wanted to bring up like as soon as possible. So obviously, the combat system in Deltarune is a lot different than the combat system in Undertale. Not on a core level, but everything else about it, like it still choose to attack or spare or act, and but now you're managing a party.
Yeah,
and
you got magic in there a little bit.
So there's like a host of new mechanics, but it still plays out in the same turn-based way with the bullet hells. But I love the inclusion of Susie as a party member that is your enemy. And the fact that, like, by the end of the game you could tell her to act kind of bummed me out a little bit, because I thought the warn mechanic was a little bit shallow, because basically it was just take a turn and then the rest of the time you're fine. If there was more to that, I love this concept where one of the things that you're fighting against is another part. Like, maybe you could act on her and try and, like,
You could put her to sleep.
Yeah, in some of the battles, but like I like the idea of like them building upon it, where it was like Susie's still antagonistic to you, and I'm
Ralsei.
just gonna say Azrael. Is it Ralsei? Is that how?
Ralsei,
Okay. During the entire experience, but you have more options to interact with her. Maybe like attacking her has a chance to like put her down, or you can talk to her and like
make her
attack
you instead of
the enemies. Like do something like that. Like I wanted stuff
Yep.
like that real bad, because the combat system is like, we complained a little bit in Undertale about the combat system being a little bit shallow, and this has the complexity to make it interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that would work really well if you spread her arc over the whole, however many episodes there might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does kind of, who knows what they'll do in the future, obviously. But it does seem like it might be a little bit of a wasted opportunity if it doesn't come back up.
I mean, if he made this story in one episode, I have every faith that he can make another through whatever means that he has at his disposal. And I think it's, like, again, not out of the question that we might get to episode 2 in a completely different setting with characters shuffled around and names anagrammed,
right,
and little else the same.
They might even be like seemingly disconnected stories with completely different characters.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Back to Susie for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the reason why she works so well, not just mechanically, but thematically, is that through the decision to add a party to Undertale's sort of combat system, it allows for a much more complex expression and a much wider variety of like human relationships that you can try and express the mechanics of Undertale, which is normally all about trying to, like, in almost clumsy ways, try and express human relationships, because like we all in our lives have met and had the relationship that you have in Deltarune, someone like Susie, like the person who is going through a tough time in their life, does not seem to care, is too young to realize the consequences of their actions, and you taking on a kind of pseudo mentorship role, you trying to reach out to that person, is not something that is often represented in games at all. And I think the important note is that with a party, this doesn't just have to be that kind of interaction, right? Like there could be another Deltarune episode where you're trying to convince someone with depression to like get over themselves and move on with their life. Like anything that's about you trying to work with someone else to make their life better or to accomplish their goals is something that's now on the table with Deltarune's party system. And I love that to death. Oh my god.
And on the mechanical side of things, I like the party system because it gives you not just like options in combat, and also sort of like an interesting, like, because we didn't see a whole lot of this, like you said, like magic is like, there's a little bit of magic in there. But there is like the potential for things to like, you can make enemies more likely to attack a particular party member, so you have time to do healing and stuff like that. And also it allows for optimization in a way that Undertale just like straight up does not. Like where if you're really good at the combat, you can do things in order to make yourself better off at the end. Like I know by the end of the game, when I felt like I had a handle on things, there'd be situations where you'd be like, well, I'm going to do this and that, and it's going to pacify these two people, and I'll spare one of them that I can spare one and guard with the other people to build up the tension meter to then get more money at the end of the thing. And I really liked that as well, like just being able to sort of like, it's the part of the RPG combat system that I think is really well thought out, where it says like you've got all of these things and like you know what you can do with them, and you just try and like optimize a good fight.
The tension meter is just absolutely beautiful to me because it gives you a resource that you as a player are heavily incentivized to manage, that by its mechanics alone also force a good dramatic arc into the sequence, which is the highlight of like any kind of great mechanic in these kind of dramatic games. But like it is something that allows you, when you're on the defensive, to slowly build back up until you can turn the tides again. Like it doesn't help you if you're just bum rushing through whatever is in front of you completely offensively. It helps you more when you're on the back foot and allows you to act like a catch-up mechanic for yourself. I really do just kind of adore it, and can't wait to see the other kind of weird magic stuff and interactions that they come up with for the meter.
Yeah, it feels, I can't really imagine a better way if you were going to try and expand on the Undertale formula, because like it basically took like turn-based combat and stripped it down to its very basis of just you take a turn, they take a turn, and integrated the bullet hell thing. And this adds some more of that RPG stuff back in, and it picks and chooses, I think, just the right things to like elevate it.
Yeah, and the fact that it has, because it still uses Undertale's like incredibly asinine item system, where it's just like everything's a healing item, and you have like limited space, and that's like it. Like the fact that the items are even in the game is like
weird. Yeah. The inclusion of armor also seems weird to me, but whatever.
True, and that like there's like almost no exploration of equipment in the first episode, so I don't know where that's gonna go. I don't know. It's a decent way to like, I guess, work with, like, make you make progress in a game where they encourage you to stay at level 1.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So with that new combat system comes new combat music, and in fact, lots of new music in this game. I do applaud the decision to keep some of the like motifs from Undertale in Deltarune. Despite his claim that the games are not connected, the musical cues kind of assure you otherwise. But I think the music, I'm of two minds on it personally. I think it's good. Like, I don't think that it's not good music. But at the same time, like, I almost get the impression that like he took feedback from the Undertale soundtrack and was like, okay, these are the songs that got really popular. Let's make songs that have kind of a similar feel to them. Like, the regular battle music like has the same tempo as Megalovania does, and that's like the secret final boss music. Hear it all the time now.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of his style, or at least that's the read I kind of get on it. And it's not as memorable, I think, overall, but I think he leaned into the aesthetic a little more. Like, I feel like the music really fit the weird, almost Tron-like Alice in Wonderland weird mashup thing he's got going on.
It's a Disney mashup, unlike any we've ever talked about before.
Yeah. But I don't know.
The aesthetic also shows like not like unbelievable, but like a distinct step up. You can tell that Temmie girl is doing more and more and more of the artwork.
The in battle screen animations in particular are really nice.
Yes, everything's colored. It's funny because you can hear Toby kind of like complain about the extra amount of time that is taking to do all of these much more detailed, actually in color sprites with full animation in comparison to the other stuff that he had done in the initial Undertale. But I mean, given how good they look, I'm fine with that. If I get more of those like crazy coin boss level, like batshit humorous ideas that are animated perfectly to the theme, like I'll wait.
Man, previous episode of the series, JJ was like, I don't care about color, give me more game. And then this one, you're like, I care a lot about color, I'll wait for the game.
Yeah, it was weird. That's something I hadn't even like realized, was that all the sprites in Undertale are black and white on the battle screens. Or something like I noticed. You would have asked me,
right,
hey Andy, are the sprites black and white in Undertale? I would have said yes. But it didn't stand out to me like, oh, they're all in full color in this one, even on the battle screens.
Yeah.
So it was like a weird little bit of trivia.
I do still like the very end of the game, like when you're in the actual castle, in the card castle. It does sort of like slip back into being like just a black screen with white walls on it. And I was like, was it like October 30th? And he was like, I just gotta just draw this out.
We gotta ship it.
But other than that, I don't know. Everything else about it was cool.
That
It's just very
castle
weird.
also felt like a specific Undertale parallel. Like the throne room felt like almost exactly the same as the Asgore one.
Mm-hmm. A lot of those parallels actually have me a little bit worried in some parts. Like, I really don't know how to feel specifically right now about how they've been, the way in which returning characters are used in this game. And I'm not talking about, I'm going to say specifically like Rousey or Azrael or whatever, because I think that one's actually used pretty well. But once you're back in the main town, I feel like the way that the existing characters from the original game are sprinkled into Deltarune are caching, writing a check that's going to be really, really hard to cache. I don't think it's impossible, but because you cannot, if the answer to this query is just, I wanted to use the designs again, it's totally unrelated, and there ends up being no obvious connection, that would be really disappointing and kind of pandering. But the opportunity is there. Yeah. If you can go universe fucky enough that this could work and be very interesting.
Yeah. If it were me, the way I would probably try to lean is in a Majora's Mask way, where you use them in an uncanny kind of way that makes you question what's going on with them, or makes you a little uncomfortable or something.
It would work a lot better if they didn't have the same names. I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, the end of the episode, if you talk to Sans, he's like, "Hey, stop by and help me out tomorrow," which suggests that he'll be more of a character in the next episode. So who knows what's gonna happen with it.
Legitimately, my guess this is my guess that I hope is wrong, because I didn't want to go into speculation on this. I wanted to sort of be a little bit more focused. We can do that a lot more on the next episode when we have kind of a larger ground to base it on.
Oh yeah, we need 2 points to this line before we start tracing direction.
But the cheap and easy one and done way of doing this is to just make it Sans is just doing shit, because they've already established him as a character who is exists outside the realm of the game's reality. He's the Deadpool character where he's self-aware of what's going on. He's aware of mechanics and shit.
Yeah. But that's slightly different. You're correct in saying that he is the Deadpool of this game, and I'm not a Deadpool scholar, so this might be a wrong read on the character, and you can correct me. But I always got the impression that Deadpool was a character that was locked inside and looking out, in contrast to, a Bugs Bunny that can reach up and grab the pen and write his arm back on.
Right.
And the important difference here is that I feel like once things get universe fucky enough, I don't think even within the fiction of the original game, Sans was set up as the kind of character that could do shit like this. He was just a guy that had abilities and could move outside of the limits of time.
Right. But that sounds like the perfect skill set to be the guide on this journey potentially between multiple universes.
Right, the guide but not the cause.
The wise old sage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Flowey would be the only character with the similar...
because if Sans had those kinds of abilities, he would just be the hero.
They should make...
But he's too lazy.
Yeah.
And shitty.
Yeah.
They make a glib reference to Flowey at the end of the game, and I'm trying to remember. It was when you're in Asgore's flower shop, he talks about used to having golden flowers, but something else happened. So that is also a possibility that that's a character that's just going to show up and decide that, and just snap their fingers and ignore all logical sense. These are the things that I do not want to happen.
Yeah, I would not want Flowey to show up, but I'll be very surprised if he doesn't in some form or another.
Yeah.
How do you think this game can possibly live up to the kind of surprise that Undertale itself initially walked in on. Like, you kind of rubbed up against this point earlier, Andy, when you were talking about how they attempted to use the free, complete surprise release to kind of revitalize the grassroots approach that this game initially had when it first got popular. I guess the series, I should say, at this point. But, like, it is hard for me, a mere human, emotionally and psychically stable, to imagine how they're going to, like one-up Photoshop Flowey, even conceptually.
I don't know. It's hard. I mean, obviously, it's hard to say, but I don't know if they're gonna try. My kind of read on this game is I thought it was better than Undertale in a lot of ways. Like, I thought the writing was a bit better. I thought the pacing of it was a bit better. Granted, it's just one episode, but and I even kind of like the characters a little bit more. But, like, overall, though, like, Undertale was way more memorable and stuck with me because it had that surprise factor. So I don't know if he's just going to try and, like, put out just a quality, well-executed product and hope that it stands on its own, or if he's gonna try and one-up himself.
Yeah, like, how do you be a sequel to Undertale that isn't entirely about subversion of expectation? Like, that's so attached to the brand, and he's actively kind of working against trying to go that angle in the first episode by bringing back all these characters.
Right.
There's so much less surprise comparatively, but still a lot of mystery.
I mean, I hope he tries, and if he's going to try and surprise us, it seems kind of pointless to speculate on how we'll do it.
True.
But I hope he managed. Like, he doesn't even have to one-up himself, just so long as he delivers another good surprise. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it could be a horizontal shift, not a vertical one.
Yeah,
like, this
like,
is a very different surprise. It's not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
I have a theory.
All right, hit me.
Yeah, and I think the episodic structure does help, as I kind of brought up before. Like, you don't know when it's coming out.
Yeah,
it might be tomorrow.
Yep.
That helps.
I'm going to put my
chips on the table.
I'm going to put my theory aside for now, so I can respond to whatever the thing it was that you said.
The episodic nature helping with the surprise?
Yes. The fact that it's episodic really lends itself to a kind of excitement that I genuinely don't think I've ever felt at, like, a game announcement before. Granted, obviously this is from the perspective of someone who was like, Undertale, yeah! But, like, I literally just woke up this morning and figured out a surprise sequel to my favorite game ever was released for free in secret. Like, that's mind-boggling, right? And this game, there are so many people like me who attach to Undertale maybe a little bit too strongly that leverages that so well. Like, it is an impressive and a very brave choice. Although next time it's going to come out with a dollar sign attached, but I'm not complaining.
My thought on the episode, on the episodic nature of the game, and also the possibility of a surprise, is I legitimately think that there's a chance that he'll just release episode 2 and that'll be the end of it. And, like, it'll just be like a whole game, but it's just, like, called episode 2.
It's just the rest of the game.
It could also be a joke at the expense of Valve Software.
It could.
Just 2 episodes.
Yeah. And have it end on a cliffhanger, but have it end on the same cliffhanger as Half-Life 2 episode 2 does. It just feels unrelated.
Like, they're going to finally introduce, like, an old black man character into the Undertale universe.
And also robot tripods, which is going to be an intense addition.
And then Toby Fox will make Half-Life 3.
Yeah, and then it would be called Deltarune Episode 3 : Half-Life 2 : Episode 3.
I remembered my theory.
Yeah, okay, hit me.
Since this game is now on the Switch,
it's perfect for the Switch.
Perfect for the
ideal. They have a lot of hardware things they can play with as far as the surprise goes.
This is true.
I really think that they need to take advantage of the 3D rumble, which is like a really not adequately taken advantage of functionality of the Nintendo Switch at
This
this
is
point in its life
100%
I
cycle.
feel like there's 0% chance that'll happen.
All right, imagine
Because the PC release is going to get priority, and as like a very small budget indie developer, they probably will not waste time and resources on HD Rumble.
they'll just hire people to go to your house.
I mean, they could hire someone to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm in favor.
It's a small barrier.
I don't think it'll happen.
I think once you unslide the little Switchies or whatever they're called.
Joy-Cons.
Oh,
But
sure.
Switchies is also... That
Right.
was in, their development name.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Once you unslide the Switchies and you hold them in your hand, I feel like the only way to really capture the kind of horror that I first felt with that Photoshop flower would be if the 3D Rumble allowed me to like feel the face of a close invisible onlooker,
Yeah.
like going like side to side and like getting the dimension out through like 3D Rumble.
That would be good, yeah.
It also opens up the idea of like a Vive port, which would also be good, which is just the game in front of you with nothing different except for like some other parts that are come in creepy and are surprising.
Currently on the console releases of Undertale and Deltarune, you can choose frames.
Mm-hmm.
You just choose what room you're viewing the game in, and you can like look around it, but you're just like on a couch.
You're just like in Sans' living room.
There you go.
Yeah.
You like
Real
turn
high
on the.
sync.
It's
Yeah.
like the pirate ship thing, but like it's a pirate ship, but you're still just on a couch looking
Yeah.
at the TV. No, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be
They
great.
could also do, and this is some high-end indie shit that won't ever happen. But they release episode 2 on PC, and then they release episode 3, and it's exclusive to the Switch, so that they can use weird Switch features. And then the next one's exclusive for like Samsung smart fridges.
Maybe they do it like a much better version of the Kingdom Hearts like alter console progression, where they just always release it on 2 systems, but it's always staggered. So like the worst system is always left behind for the next in line.
Yep.
Yeah, give you a little hop.
They should put it on the Soldier Boy.
Oh yeah,
Soldier Game. Don't put it on Soldier Boy. He doesn't run software yet. We haven't gotten that far.
Soldiertron.
Sorry.
I can never remember that because Soldier Boy is the obvious
Is a better name,
that
yeah.
it should have been. But anyway, do you want to talk about... We talked about Susie a bit. Do we want to talk about Lancer, a.k.a. New Sans?
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing with you gave. That's not a fair assessment of this character. I loved Lancer. Like
Okay.
I thought he was great.
I also liked Lancer a lot. I feel like Lancer a lot. Never mind.
Nice.
When I said it fast, it sounded
No, I
more like
got you.
Lance a lot. But so I feel like they pulled a BB-8 with Lancer, where it's like they kind of combined things about Sans and Papyrus into one character.
Right.
Fair. Yeah.
I honestly think that the Lancer Susie duo is as effective of a villain duo as Sans and Papyrus were during the first act.
Yeah, I actually think it's better. Like I was saying, like there's a lot of like I think a lot of the individual elements, if not like most of them, are better, like in isolation. But like the overall picture of Undertale, like really elevates itself. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn about how I feel about if you're comparing the two.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
problem is if they do choose to bring him back and it isn't episodic in the way that we were sort of thinking, you're not going to get like the same kind of if they try and do the same thing again, like that would be really awkward.
Yeah.
That would be like also sort of like making him sort of like BB-8. It would be like if you watched the new Star Wars trilogy and said this seems really familiar, you'd be doing the same thing with Undertale. You'd be like, this would be better if they just did a different thing with it, instead of rehashing all the same ideas.
Yeah, I feel like you need to introduce different supporting characters in each episode.
I agree.
Like if you could keep Chris and Susie, but then like change everything around them. I think it's the optimal way to go. As we have previously stated.
Also, in fairness, most of the reason that I like Lancer as a character is because he once said, I have guys who will smash you into blood, which is just a very good line in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Any of the bucket and everything, that's hysterical. Like, that's the best joke of the game. Anyway, what else we got? Talked about visuals, talked about music, talked about the game.
I mean, you'd be surprised, but the structure of this game, the first of many episodes, I think kind of prevents many particularly deep dives about it, especially a game that relies heavily on ambiguity as this game does.
That's also what I was thinking.
What did you guys think of the free roam around the town at the end thing?
I mean, if we're being very honest about it, I didn't really like it, but
Why only if you're very honest? What's the just honest take?
I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that like your interaction with these people is going to be like important for later events, and considering it is the first episode in a series, it makes more sense to have this like sort of drawn out NPC interaction session like a lot of RPGs have whenever you enter a new town or something. And so I want to say like it's fine because of that, but there were good jokes occasionally, but like I would have skipped it if I didn't think it was going to be important.
Yeah, I talked to mostly everybody on like the first 2 screens and then was like, and then just left and went back to sleep. It felt like weird. Like, I don't know, I felt this way about Earthbound as well. Like at the end of the game, I feel like it's a really weird place to put something like that. Like, I've just beaten the game. I kind of feel like I'm done with it. Like, I don't really want to go back through this big area and talk to everybody.
Yeah, and Undertale, Earthbound is this times 10 because it's the whole game world.
Yep, yeah.
Which, I mean, like, it's neat and you, like, on paper, you know, it's a cool idea and you, like, want to like it, but it feels like an obligation after you've, you know, interacted with it a bit.
Agreed. It doesn't work with the pacing within the episode itself, and it's not particularly effective at like building up anticipation by itself. And when I say that, I'm not trying to discount all like the cool questions that sequence brings up. I'm just saying that you could have worked those questions into the actual narrative that the one episode was telling. You would have had to change some things around, of course, but like the fact that you have this episode is concluded, stop, go into the town, raise a bunch of hub world questions and things we don't know about for the next game, then end, makes things kind of awkward within that initial play session. I wouldn't cut it given the choice, of course. You need the questions to be there, but they could have been organized better.
Or like cut down on the amount of interactions.
True.
I think part of the reason why they went with that large of an initial ending space is just so the world felt kind of imposing at that point, because this is still marketed as like one episode incoming. So the idea was that you're supposed to like emerge from your experience into this wide world that is full of hidden secrets and questions if you go to look for them to find them.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work like that because a game like this, it's all about character interaction. You kind of feel just obligated to talk to everyone, even more than most RPGs.
Yep.
So you run into that issue. But I think that was the intent. They could have done better there, narratively speaking, but I'm still glad it was present.
Also, that one guy has like cancer or something.
Deer cancer, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird because
Why?
like that's a character that I didn't even know. Is that character from Undertale?
No, there's no cancer in Undertale.
No, not the cancer. That's not the character. I mean the deer people. Were they monsters in Undertale?
No, there were no
Are you
deer.
sure?
Okay. There's gift rot, which
is a deer.
is a deer, but it's like a very different deer.
Yeah.
than
He's
these
not an
guys.
anthropomorphized deer. He's a monster deer, and that doesn't count.
I feel like there was a deer person.
You show me a deer person, and I will record an active correction.
You would know better than I would, but I feel like I can picture it.
No deer, no cancer.
All right.
It's my presidential goals.
Did not mean to even start any of this. I just wanted to mention that particular emotional note felt kind of unearned and unnecessary unless he becomes like a major
like a setup
character
for
later.
something later.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seemed weird.
Or it could be cool, as you were saying, if these things were relevant if they're used to seed things for a later episode.
Right, but they have to include a whole bunch of stuff so that they can cloak it in like the veil of conversation.
Maybe they do the BioShock Infinite constants and variables thing, and
fuck me.
He just has cancer in every timeline. In each episode of a new setting.
He's a different kind of cancer.
That's actually really funny.
I don't know how funny that is.
But it feels,
not funny, right?
It feels wrong that it's funny.
Hey guys, do we have final thoughts?
Sure. This Deltarune episode 1 is a lot better than I think I would have expected a follow-up to Undertale would go. I would imagine that it would like kind of crash and burn or feel real forced or something. But I think this is handled pretty well. It gets, like I said, I think the quality in like most areas is improved, like the animation, the writing, the pacing, etc. And it's gotten me intrigued to see where it goes next. And I mean, I'd say that seems like a success to me.
I do not have final thoughts on an unfinished product, you monster.
You pretentious dickbag.
Quit dodging the question.
No, we'll let him do this until the last episode.
Wait, does this lock me into having no final thoughts on all prior episodes?
You killed the frog. You're on the bad path. Now you have to give all your final thoughts on the last episode.
Oh no!
And what's gonna happen is we're gonna do Undertale episode 7, the last one that they're making. Also, they changed the name back to Undertale. Oops.
I googled Undertale Deer, and then it like suggested Undertale Deer OC. It's the first result.
No, what's gonna happen is I'll be like, all right, Andy, do you have final thoughts? He'll give his final. I'll give my final thoughts. I'll be like, thanks for listening to No Clip Pocket. Join us next week when we do JJ's final thoughts, and then we'll just record half an hour of you doing final thoughts. Yeah, like I've been building this up the whole time.
It is written.
Yeah.
It shall be done.
I don't know if it will be done, but I will allow it on this one.
You find some sweet Undertale deer porn?
You just wait.
No.
Until the dice read a 5 or 8.
Give it to me now.
Well, if I have final thoughts, that I'm looking forward to the next game mechanically, but I'm curious narratively, but I don't think that I have enough to go on or understand enough of what's going on to be like, hell yeah, like bring me more of that.
Yeah, that is a good way to put
fair.
it. I'm not curious about the narrative, but I know the writing will be good. Like I have faith in the writing, I just don't have faith in the overall direction.
Yeah.
I
have a moderate amount of faith, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to No Clip Pocket's Deltarune episode 1.
Join us next time for a continuation of the Deltarune series.
Until then, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com or at splattershot.pro. There you can find links to our YouTube, our Twitter, all of our old episodes, including an old episode on Undertale and an old episode on Undertale. You can go to our YouTube page, like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, buy a Casper mattress with promo code NoClip. You could try that. It's not gonna work though.
Yeah, maybe the No Clip documentary series has a promo going on.
Yeah, you could get 10% off anyway, but they didn't sponsor us. Thank you for listening, etc., etc.
That was our rendition of Megalovania on our quads.
Mm-hmm.
What are quads?
Muscles.
Hilariously, they're both muscles and the names of the drums that people do it. So that was a really good joke.
Oh.
You're just so ignorant.
I will admit this. However, I do have some knowledge. I know the third definition of quads.
Oh, shit.
Yes. I heard it and was confused because my only knowledge of quads is a description of like a grassy playing area for sports.
Right.
I forgot about that.
It's
yeah.
weird to
You
me
fucking morons.
It's weird to me that as a swimmer, you aren't familiar with the fact that these are your quads.
Why would I learn the names of muscles when I'm so busy using them?
'Cause you never had them like cramp up or anything?
No, they bent to my will, much as the seas did.